Hello and welcome to the Extra Castle with myself, Nick Bonington and Olivia. Today we are joined by Emily Pearl, or you may know her better as the Reels Queen. Now, having seen the disruption the pandemic caused in the entertainment and theatrical industry, Emily continued what she knew best and started her own journey growing her own Instagram and specializing in Reels. Now, Emily is a rising star in Instagram. She grew her Instagram account from, 0 to 20,000 followers in just 6 months, which is massively impressive. And that is speeding up because she even got a few thousand just over the last weekend after we filmed this podcast. This has led Emily to now create her own staffed agency where she helps brands, small businesses and content creators achieve the Instagram feed of their dreams and smash their social strategy. Today's podcast isn't actually much about Emily's journey, but more about how you can grow your Instagram using Reels. Full of tips, hacks, and to-dos. If you're interested in growing your brand, then this podcast is an absolute must. Now, enjoy. Hello, Emily, and welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello. Yeah, really well, thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, we've just let the listeners know we have already been speaking for 10 minutes, and it's like I've been watching all over Instagram for the last week or whatever, and it's like you're a star that's come onto the podcast.
Oh, bless you, thank you. It's a crazy time.
Right now, all our listeners are now Googling who you are, and they're going onto Instagram and finding your handle and following you, hopefully. So we'll do big shouts out to that. Don't worry, the intro is going to include lots of that sort of stuff.
Oh, bless you.
So we've got loads of questions. So from the listeners' point of view, just to let them know. So this interview is going to be around because we've been talking on our podcast lately about how Instagram Reels are, how we can now put paid ads into Instagram Reels. We're also trying a lot of poll ads. So, the question ads, which you use a video and then put questions underneath, and we're seeing some really good results from that because really the whole world since iOS 14 has happened, the paid advertising on these platforms has become a little bit put out of place.
Yeah.
So us as an agency, we are sort of, okay, let's go back a couple of years, well, even to back 8 months. You could do an ad, whether it's video or it's a carousel or whatever, and you could put that ad out and people would click through and you get purchases. And you'd be going out to like a cold audience, and we can build a cold audience based on loads of different interests. We can get really deep into the sort of interests and page likes and how we want to really target someone.
Sure.
iOS is slowly making that harder and harder. We're seeing adaptations to the ads manager happening all the time. So as an agency, and I'd like to say, we're pretty thoughtful in this sort of area of how we can get really good traffic to people's websites and pages, is that we're actually going back into quite organic strategies.
Yeah.
So rather than just putting an ad out there and going, okay, people are going to click it and buy, we're actually trying to build up an audience. So we have something which we call a top of funnel. So it's like a pyramid. Top of funnel is where we build in a cold audience and then we start retargeting off that. We're kind of doing like a pre-top of funnel now, which is using whether it's just very organic kind of social media stuff to try and build engagement. Because if someone hits a carousel and goes and swipes the slide, we can then put them into an audience into Facebook to retarget them and do all these different techniques and tactics. So it's about trying to do that. So what I want to discuss with you today is really your background on how you've built yourself up, because our listeners will really, it's part of mine. I can't figure out how, like, the thing that's embarrassing. We have all these people listen to the podcast, yet I have like 73 followers on my Instagram.
It's
I don't have loads of time. I can't do the stuff that you do. I just feel like a right plonker doing it. You look great doing it, by the way. That's no disrespect, but I just like, I don't know if I could do it.
But you just got to figure out what works for you. You don't have to do what.
Well, that's it.
Do,
but then I'm sort of
dancing.
thinking, I sit all my time in my office. Like every podcast, every YouTube video is me sitting here, and the only thing I can do that's creative is probably like pointing the camera at my screen, making a few transitions on a reel, and then just putting some pop-ups of something. Is that enough?
Viral. There you go.
Viral.
You're done. End of the podcast. We're finished.
Yeah, okay.
That's all you need to know.
Well, why don't you start off by giving us a little bit of background on yourself, because you've had some amazing achievements in the last 6 months. I mean, You're really starting to see things fast forward quickly now, aren't you?
Yeah, it really has been a crazy. I mean, I'd say it's kind of been like over a 4 to 6 month period that it really has kind of grown hugely. But I mean, bit of background, started the social manager in January 2021. It was actually one of those really stupidly sad COVID stories where I was in the dream job, or what I thought was the dream job, and got made redundant, and basically spent 3 months being like, I'm so bored, I need to do something. And my whole life has been on social media. I was in kind of the TV, theatre, and film world before, and I was doing a lot of their socials and stuff like that. So it just seemed like a really good fit. And when we started the social manager, honestly, I thought it was going to be a 2 client thing. I was going to get a couple £100 here and there. But I mean, it just proves that social media is the most powerful tool that you can use for a business. It's crazy the results that you can achieve. And I mean, we're now a fully fledged agency with 10-ish clients at the moment, which are all my dream clients, which is phenomenal. I mean,
Brilliant.
it's pretty cool that I get to choose who I work with now. But yeah, I mean, a part of the social manager is obviously we do Instagram management. We do everything within Instagram management, from Pinterest marketing to obviously paid ads at the end of the road. But first and foremost, we like to focus on organic. So that really is where my background lies. And then, yeah, content creation is what we're all about. That's the dream. That's the king. So, yeah.
So did you just wake up one morning and think, right, COVID's kind of thrown a spanner in the works, I need to do something? And did you just start doing reels for yourself just to try and build up followers, or?
No, I mean, gosh, if you actually look, but I'm really shooting myself in the foot here. If you go back to my very first couple of posts, it's really embarrassing. But I saw a girl on my TikTok. It's funny that it was on TikTok and I'm on Instagram. Saw a girl on TikTok and she was like, look how much money I can make. And I was like, I can do that. I can definitely do that. So I basically just did. I mean, I did pay quite a bit of money to do some kind of really in-depth courses, but at the same time, you can pretty much Google everything and learn it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's given me my success really is I don't ever stop learning. I'm constantly researching new things. And I mean, I just think it's so important because the world of social media and the world of social media management is still so new. So you really do have to just keep up with the trends and all of that jazz.
And it is the trends as well, isn't it? I mean, what would you say how long the trends last in Instagram, especially
I think
Reels?
it's slightly shorter than things like TikTok. I say that really, if you're trying to grow your account, you want to jump on a trend within the first week that it's kind of been let out. Otherwise, that trend is going to be super oversaturated, and there's going to be way more users using it. So your content's less likely to be seen. Okay. But I know that we want to talk a lot about trends. There's so much to talk about it, but I think we'll go on to that later on.
Okay. Okay. So if we start off with people growing their account, this is going to help me as well, and it's going to help our listeners. What would you say is the best way to push out? Because I know from starting a podcast point of view, we had no listeners for we might have had one or two for months. And then suddenly the algorithm picks you up a bit and then it pushes out. Does it work the same way with this? Have me making 5 reels really not been enough?
Unfortunately not. I think the key here is consistency. I think when you start doing something, if you don't fully kind of commit to it, then people are going to see through that.
Like a podcast, we do it once a week. So how many, because the CEO of Instagram recently announced that only 1 or 2 reels are needed in a week to grow a business account. Is that right?
For a business account, I think yes. I think anything more than that, you're kind of just being a bit too salesy. But things like small businesses, so like product-based and service-based businesses, I don't see why not. I mean, you've got creators like, I don't know if you know Brock Johnson, who literally goes on about, you've got to post 3 times a day, you've got to be doing this post, carousel, reel, and all of that, which, yes, his results are absolutely crazy. But if huge growth isn't the main goal and just building a really loyal kind of community, then posting 3 to 4 times a week is probably the best way to do it, because you don't get that burnout feeling. You don't have that feeling of, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got to come up with content ideas the whole time. And it's easier to stick to, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'll bang on about it for years to come, but consistency is key.
So do we need to, so what would you say that, so when I say a business, if it's like me trying to grow my account, I'm not going to make silly videos. I need to make videos that are add value to someone, like the podcast do, and like everything I try to add value.
Sure.
Is it doing that? But do I need the music? Do I need to have the transitions? Do I need to have the pop-ups?
Well, I think it's not so much a need. I think it's more that the whole purpose of a reel, if we're talking about reels, is to grab your audience attention and then obviously lead them to your Instagram profile, to your website, to your podcast. So I think for yourself and for maybe a business like yours, the purpose of your reels should maybe be more to entertain and to show little snippets or give little bits of insight into it, but by not giving everything away. So then it allows that person to think, oh, I want to go and listen to that full episode because I love that little bit that you said. That's really helpful. So I would also, I mean, I think reels are an incredible way to show your expertise with also being able to show your whole personality.
Yeah.
And I think with showing your personality on reels, it then would lead more people to think, oh, hang on a minute, I really like this guy. I'm going to go listen to an episode. And then I'm going to subscribe. And then, do you see what I mean? It's like a snowball effect.
So because when the ones I did, I got like 700 odd views, I think.
That's epic.
Is it? Is that a good amount?
Think about 700 people in a room. That's mad.
No one followed me.
But you just said that you posted 5 reels and then stopped. So if I'm looking at your reels and I'm thinking, all right, where's the next one? And there's no next one.
Okay.
Why would I follow you? Why would I?
Yeah. Because there's a few people when I'm following other people who are, reasonably big, not huge, but reasonably big. I got rid of someone the other day, and I just unfollowed them just because I didn't get any value from them.
No,
there wasn't enough. It was like, okay, it's obviously working, growing their followers. But like I've spent some time looking at yours, and I even got on. I said to Liv the other day, I was like, I can't believe how easy it is. You'd done one where it was like, okay, do your video caption and then go into something, and then you could overlay it over the top of something else.
The cloning.
And I was like, and you were like, that literally takes 3 seconds. I was like, so you're getting value from these things, whereas so many others, they forget to give the value, don't they? And people say about this podcast, it's like, oh, I go into people's ad managers and they've built it how I've been talking about on the podcast. Crazy. I'm like, this is just weird.
It is weird.
I can't believe people think I'm an expert. My kids honestly don't think I'm an expert in anything.
You are.
Because you're their dad.
Thanks, Liv.
I'm like, you're rooting for you over here.
So, okay. So we need to keep some consistency from that. We want to give value across. How long was it when you started from zero, and you're I think Liv said yesterday, you went up like a few hundred over the weekend.
Yeah.
I actually went up a few thousand.
A few thousand.
I saw your Instagram and I was like, she's on 20,000. And I was Nick, because like, oh, she's got about 16,000. I had a look, I was like, oh my God, she's got like 22 and a half. I was like, crazy. I was like,
we've got to get this girl on the podcast, otherwise soon she's not going to be interested.
Yeah, too famous for you, sorry.
Literally.
Never. No, to be honest, our full transparency here, I went through a bit of a crappy phase with work where I was feeling kind of just super burnt out. I was getting ill. I was basically just focusing all of my attention on my clients and completely forgetting that I even had a page myself. And I went through a phase of just posting with absolutely no purpose. I had no strategy in place. I was just kind of thinking about something, posting it, didn't really care what happened with it. And then I basically sat myself down and was like, Emily, this is really silly here. You've got something brilliant. You've got an incredible community. I mean, my following is so genuine and so loyal. They really do. They hype me up every day. Like it's the most incredible feeling.
Oh, really? So you'll get comments from people?
I mean, as much as the hate comments come, the
you
love
do get
comments
hate comments as well, then, do you? Is
They're
that
my favorite things in the world.
yeah, keep you motivated.
100%. They fuel me more than anything. But the love really does. It makes it so worth it. I
Yeah.
mean, hypothetically, I am giving away what people pay for free. So I think it's probably the main reason why my account has grown so much.
But that's what I mean with the same with this podcast. It's the only thing I can relate
Exactly.
to because it's the only thing that has people listening. Is that happens because people are saying, oh, you know, it's making a difference, and it is. You've got, because I think Instagram has changed into a bit of an information channel, hasn't it? If you look at it
Completely
2 years
agree.
ago, people were taking pictures of their food and stuff like that. It doesn't really
For
happen
sure.
anymore.
No, it's like brilliant example. I put up Q&A the other day, and some geezer replied to it saying, if you've got X amount of followers, how come your personal account only has however many I have? And I literally replied to it being like, my personal account is for my friends and family. It's a private Instagram account. I post pictures that I want to post on there. And it's actually the one thing that I do that is not going to be seen by a million people. So I don't need to care what I post. So my purpose is not to grow. But it is interesting that Instagram just so isn't a photo sharing app anymore. It's literally to pump out information and to grow businesses. It's crazy.
Yeah. Would you say that you put a bit of so on mine, I read, you know, Russell Brunson. Have you heard of him from ClickFunnels?
Yeah.
Now, this might be a bit outdated. So he had his traffic sources book. And when he was growing his Instagram, he was predominantly doing most of it to do with ClickFunnels in his business. But then he was bringing little snippets of his private life. And he said, choose 2 or 3 different areas of your private life that you'd bring in occasionally, probably more into stories and things like that. So people actually see a bit of your personality. Do you think that's something that's still needed now, or not? Or do you bring it into yours?
Well, I think it's truly dependent on what type of business you have. I think for me, I'm a coach, so predominantly it is about building trust with me to be able to then come to me for help. So for me, I have found that showing, as you said, really little snippets of my personal life do help in a certain way, but there is definitely a line that I have crossed in the past, which I now will not cross now.
What's that? And what do you mean by that line? Because I noticed your story last weekend. Isn't it mad how we can know what you went cold water swimming or something, didn't you?
Yeah. And
so
people love that. People love that.
It's thinking about, do you think about what you post before you post it? You don't just go, oh, I'm doing this.
No, it's all well, things like the cold water swim, for me, that was just a really nice thing that I did. And I was so excited to share it. So I thought, why not let people that are really engaged with me see what I'm doing? But there's a whole lot of stuff. I mean, don't post your nights out on your work account. Don't post, do you know what I mean? Things like it's not necessary. And to be quite honest, it's going to give people the wrong impression. So I think you've got to find that really healthy balance of allowing people in enough to your life to build that trust, to build that loyalty, that authenticity, but then also holding a little bit back, because you don't want to give them your 24-hour a day. You don't want to show them. Do you know what I mean? There is a fine line, but I think you quite quickly find that balance, and you quite quickly learn what doesn't go and what does.
Yeah. When did you start seeing, did you go through a stage early on where you're like, oh, this is just taking so long to grow?
Yeah.
Obviously, I know my reasons why. You were obviously doing it more consistently than I was.
Sure.
Or have been. But did it take like months? I mean, if I started right now, I'm going to do a reel after this.
Yeah.
My listeners are going to go, I'm going to do a reel. I'm going to do 2 reels a week, giving value. How long realistically is it before they start seeing?
Realistically, sorry, I had to do that one. As I said, started my account in January. I did not post my first reel until April. Within the space of 2 weeks, I had grown from, I think it was like 300 followers to over 1,000 followers from 2 weeks of consistent reels. And at the beginning, I was posting, I think it was maybe 3 reels a week. And then as soon as it kind of hit March, I was posting consecutively every day. And I grew from 1,000 to 10K in, I think it was 3.5 weeks. So it does
Wow.
prove
1,000
that
to 10K in 3.5
10K in
weeks.
3.5 weeks. It was
And now you're doing
hilarious.
what? Did you do 3,000 this past weekend?
So yeah, well, I checked my insights the other day, and I was growing on average about 600, 700 followers a day.
That's incredible, because we are really at the age now, and it's great because Reels is the only place you can. So posting your stories only goes to your followers.
Yes, posting only goes to follow, or unless people click on your story,
And only
profile,
1% of your followers, because the algorithm only works to show what people are interested in.
Yeah.
The stat, I think, and we've done it on the podcast ages ago, James knows it, it's like 1 or 2% of people see your content.
What, from my actual following?
Yeah, in a feed, depending on how engaging you are. So when people, you can follow as many people as you like, but you may not see everyone, because unless Facebook or Instagram decides that you're going to engage, they won't show you something that someone's posted anyway.
Exactly. I mean, story views are at like 10%. I mean, it is. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if you saw, I know that you gave me a little bit of a stalk, but I posted a story yesterday of my insights from my latest reel. And that quite literally blew my mind. I mean, in comparison to followers versus non-followers, I'd reached 1.2 million people that were not following me. And it was something like 6% were my actual followers, which is mind-blowing, because you think that your followers would be the people that are actually engaged the most. But it's not.
Why do you think that is? Is that because you reckon it's just the algorithm? Do you reckon it's hashtags? Like, what do you think it comes down to? Is it a combination?
I do think it's a combination. I equally think when I'm posting things like a part 1, part 2, part 3 series, let's say, new people then come back, because obviously they know there's going to be another part. So things like that are really handy in getting people to not only view and engage on your content, but also hit the follow button and engage with your actual day-to-day stories and things, which I find really, really important.
So you're an individual who's now got to the point you've grown an agency, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay,
Thank you so
people
much.
coming to you and you're helping these people. For instance, I could come to you, couldn't I? Pay you money and you help. Do you help build those videos for me, or do you instruct your clients on how to do it?
Both.
Okay. So you're doing reels every day to try and carry on keeping on growing. How do you structure because this is the biggest thing for me, and I know our listeners all want to do this. How do you structure your day? You can't just leave it till 3 and go, oh, bollocks, I need to do a reel today, like I do, trying to find you.
No. We batch create until we die. I every single Monday will wake up a disgusting amount early in the morning. I get myself to the gym, get myself in a good mindset, and then I put on a bit of makeup and I literally film 20 reels in one go, and it takes me about 3 hours, and that is done. And it leaves you so much time. I think please don't take offense to this, anyone that says they don't have time to do something, come and speak to a person that manages 10 other people's accounts and still does her own and finds time for it. I promise you have more time than you think you do. Yeah. It's just the initial overwhelming feeling of, what do I post? How do I post it? What's the audio? Pre-plan, sit down for an hour and scroll through reels, look what you want, take inspiration from people, really know what purpose you want to be giving out. And then it's so much easier to not get overwhelmed with it.
I've got a new client in my consultancy part of the agency, and we were talking. I actually wanted to get him on a podcast because just to show how he grew. So came background from the theatre. Obviously that had the hit we all know of, and he was brilliant on the keyboard. So that's his on the musical side.
Incredible.
So he started doing he created this little downloadable of this. He's probably listening to this. He'll listen to this and be like, he's really explained that badly, but let's say they can download to their PC, and it's a little program that they can start doing their own beats. Yeah, they can think they're Kanye West. Yeah,
epic.
So he's done one for trap, which I didn't realize trap was the beats. All these different things, and he's done like a carousel. So he does. He does do reels as well, doesn't he? But he's been posting. So he had no one, and then he posts 7 pages or 7 cards, and the first one is him on the keyboard, and he's structured them all the same, so all exactly the same, but it's a different type of music. He's grown his to 64,000 people.
In how
64,000, and he's Absolutely amazing. And he's
Well done,
generating
you.
income off it as well. So his last card on every single, so he does a post and you can swipe the cards. And his last card is to buy his program, which is only like 13
See, it's
quid.
genius. It's genius.
So now he's just like, right, I need to get onto paid ads. So he's coming on, we're going to help him with his paid ads.
And I agree that would be the point that you should start considering paid ads.
Absolutely. And we're going to structure it. So we're going to build the ads as carousels using the same structure that's worked organically.
Brilliant.
But using his insights, look for the ones that work best. Push it out there to a bigger market. And I said this pandemic could have, like you, it could actually change your life.
Yeah.
Good things come out of this.
It has. I truly believe that without this stupid pandemic, I don't even know where I'd be, but I certainly wouldn't be running my own business.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
You're enjoying it.
Oh, I love every second. I mean, it's I think now it's got to the point where I have now started monetizing my own account. So it does make it even more exciting, but I love it. I absolutely love my job.
Yeah.
Do you reckon there was like a pivotal, I was saying to Nick, I don't know how to say it, pivotal moment where you were like, right, this is going to go somewhere? Was it that one video? Was it that one, you know, when you hit a certain amount of followers where you thought, right, this is going to be great?
You know what? It's actually quite pathetic. They always do say that the things you spend the least time on do the best.
Yeah.
And I was sick in bed. I was so sick. I had the flu and I woke up in the morning and I was like, I haven't posted in ages. I've got to just get a post out. And it took me 5 seconds. I posted this silly little reel about how to put a drop of coffee in your Instagram story. And it blew up. It was my first reel that blew up and it got to something like 350,000 views. And at that moment, I was like, hang on a minute. This is really, really fun. And I want to do more of this. So I think it was probably at that moment that, I think
you saw the difference.
You can see, exactly. Once you see it for yourself, you really get that fire in your belly. And you're striving for more and more and more and more.
Absolutely. And it is that. It's the same with the podcast. As soon as we started seeing the downloads starting to come in, and it was like, we're growing like 100 a week. And then it was like, we're growing like 200 a week and 300 a week. And then suddenly we're like, you type in Facebook into Shopify, Spotify, always, and Apple, and you're with like the main podcast. It's like, huh?
Yeah.
That is
how does this even happen?
And I think for us as well, we then off the back of it, because we're getting people, you know, asking questions about Nick's about the consultancy call as well. So we started like our little Facebook group, and like every week we're getting more and more and more members to that. And I think it just, when you see people that then obviously go off and find the Facebook group, submit the questions, you're like, this person's really spent time actually finding us, answering the questions, then join that community as well. It does make a massive difference. Just those, the little steps then actually then get you to your milestone, don't they? So it definitely gives you inspiration and, you know, to keep going.
Definitely. It definitely motivates you 100%.
What would you say the best structure is to create a reel? So we're talking about reels. I think we just need to put this to bed. Is reels the place that the listeners can go to start creating more followers on social media? Is it 100%. What reels they need?
100%.
Doing a post on
no
there,
question,
because you know your wall, is it, do we still call it a wall?
You mean
a feed? My feed.
Gosh.
The wall is on Facebook.
I was reading some articles yesterday about Facebook and surveys, and some of them were so old it was still calling them a wall.
Well, I think can your Facebook still be a wall?
Are you guys even old enough to even remember that?
I was just thinking, like, is that like something that you'd have on like MySpace or something when I was like 12?
I remember, so this is showing my age. I remember when Facebook started, and I remember saying to my wife, are you on Facebook? Have you gone and signed up for Facebook yet? And she's like, what the hell's Facebook? I'm not going to do any of this. What are you talking about? It's like kid stuff.
No, I think.
And that was a wall. That was posting on your wall.
Oh no, I had to like wait for my mum to say you're old enough to have Facebook now. It was like you sneakily had like MySpace or Bebo.
Yeah,
that was at the best. You sneakily have that where, you know, you'd log on, your mum and dad wouldn't know about that because they could add you on Facebook. But no, yeah, I remember, I love it on Facebook, and obviously literally it pops up like what you used to post.
Oh, it makes me sick.
Embarrassing. It's like,
it makes me sick.
It literally makes me feel sick.
Is feeling or is going shopping.
Yeah, no, not the one. Oh, can't bother doing the schoolwork. That was literally like my worst one.
So upset Miss said this to me today. What are you talking about?
Yeah, literally. I think it's so funny how like the world's changed. Like you wouldn't see anybody like posting that anymore. So yeah, it's funny. I love seeing the growth of all of the platforms, and like, you know, as I said, Reels has massively grown, as with TikTok over the pandemic. So yeah, it's all going in the right direction with what we do.
Absolutely. Okay, so Reels is where it's at. If you want to
Reels is where it's at.
Is there a structure? So music-wise, Liv had to do a little bit of a hack for me the other day. She had to make me and my 73 followers. Anyone goes on to see, this is the thing, like you said about your personal account. People listen to the podcast. They might go onto my Instagram account and go, "Really?
Are you sure?"
Like my kids have got more than me. Like everyone's got more followers than me.
Oh dear.
I don't.
Oh dear. Well, listen, everyone starts from somewhere.
I have had an Instagram account for like 5 years and still. Actually, I had to change my Instagram account, but then you can't do the follow to follow, can you?
No.
And delete because the algorithm sees you doing that.
No, that we don't. We want to avoid that.
Okay, so there you go, everyone. Don't do that.
Don't do the follow unfollow method. We're not.
I changed myself to entrepreneur, right? Because that released the music to my account.
I've also had to become an entrepreneur on Instagram because I lost my ads library.
Okay, so the listeners know what we're talking about. Basically, you see on Reels, people have got like the Drake track or Kanye West new song or whatever as music. And I was just like doing my first reel, and typical dad style, I'm like, why is this not working? Trying to get my kids involved. Why is it not? How can I just put a Drake track on it? And it wasn't allowing it. So some accounts don't allow it. And then Liv said, "Oh, if you change, I'm going to change you to entrepreneur." And then all the music came up.
Yeah. So basically, just as a rule of thumb for anyone listening, if you do lose your ads library, let's say you're a creator account, just switch over to business, pop your category as entrepreneur, you should get it back. Vice versa, if you're a business account, try switching over to creator account and you should also get it back. So it's not like it's lost forever.
Now, do we need to put music? I'm going to talk about like put on something, hey, the new things happen on Ads Manager. Like yesterday, they're announcing some stuff. So if I do a little reel about that, because I'm obviously trying to build my audience up based on what I'm about, do I need to put music on it?
Yes. So in terms of things like that, for you, if you're going to speak over a video, you're going to explain something, anything like a voiceover video, anything like that, if there is just voice in it, if it's just you speaking, you need to put a trending audio with the volume down underneath it, just so that Instagram algorithm picks you up, boosts you out. Right. Whereas if you are doing a really funky transition video where realistically you're going to hook your audience in anyway because it's fun, it's snappy, you don't necessarily need the trending audios. However, you do want to have a mix of both in your Instagram account. I mean, I could go on for hours about trending audios because it's one of the main topics that I'm asked. Basically, as a rule of thumb, use trending songs. So use anything. I know that some people can't see this on their account, but most accounts now do have it. When you're scrolling through Reels, there'll be a little arrow at the bottom of the audio that tells you that it's trending. So using trending sounds is super important. You don't want to be using them all the time, but things like actual Reels trends is a different thing that people are getting very confused with at the moment.
Oh, and how do they get confused? Are they both on the screen when you're doing your reel, are they?
Well, so there is something called a Reels trend, which is, let's say, I can't even think off the top of my head.
Bright eyes or shiny eyes or something?
Yeah, like a FaceTime call when you pick it up and everyone's jumping on this FaceTime call, right?
Right. Okay.
But then there's also something called a trending audio, which is just a trending song. So
that could be like Drake's I'm Too Sexy or whatever.
Exactly. But basically what I'm trying to say is you want to avoid jumping on those trends all of the time, because if you think about it, everyone is jumping on the trend. So what makes you think that your content's going to be seen over theirs? Right. So use them if it relates to your niche, if it is worth using it. But if you are literally just doing it to jump on a trend and you're not really adding any value, then my advice would be to stay away.
What about the business? You see a lot of businesses doing like the miming of someone talking, don't they? Is that the same as the audio?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of lip syncing.
That's not a trending Drake song. That's a trending
that's a trending audio. Yeah, but it might not necessarily be a trending audio. That could just be like, what you hear on TikTok, these little snippets from movies where it's just a really funny line or whatever. I think they're really great and really entertaining to watch, but also super helpful for people.
Okay. What about, let's jump onto a little bit of TikTok. And now I know this isn't your background, but
Sure.
I can probably guarantee that in the next 6 months, you'll probably be like, have 1 million followers on there. Because it's becoming a bit of a beast, isn't it? And obviously the Reels is like a great place. We all I think we all know and trust Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think, would you say there's part of that has made you attracted to Instagram because you're already using Instagram and understand it?
Yeah.
But from an advertising point of view, and for our listeners' point of view, what happens in social networks is that the social network is released. Youngsters, 16-year-olds start using it. TikTok becomes because before TikTok it was something else. It was Musical.ly, wasn't it? Which was massive for the youngsters. Got bought out, made TikTok. And then what happens as the demographic starts to grow, as soon as we start seeing the 30-year-olds coming onto a platform, the advert in a high number, that's when the advertisers start to come across. And that's when, like TikTok, from an advertising point of view, it's like they've hired everyone from Facebook and said, can you build our advertising platform? It's exactly the same. They even have it called a TikTok pixel, the same as a Facebook pixel. And it's TikTok Ads Manager. It's identical. So because we're doing a lot of research in that, we're moving into bringing that on as a platform for our clients and things like that. It's very early stages. But how do you sort of see, because they're very similar, aren't they? I mean, are you looking at some point to move into the TikTok arena?
It's a hard one. I've been trying to avoid TikTok for so long now because
why is that?
I find it a really hard platform to be on, to be completely honest, because it is basically a load of stunningly beautiful humans, and that's the only reason they're famous. And it's kind of like, okay, here I am, I've been scrolling for about an hour and a half. I haven't learned anything, but I've actually just got really crappy self-love right now. So for me, it's not a platform that I'm into. I think if I post something and I know that my 14-year-old cousin is going to see it, it's not for me. I would rather keep my audience where I know and love them. But equally, I think Instagram is massively trying to compete with TikTok at the moment. I mean, it is crazy to think how far and how fast paced Reels have grown in the last 6 months or so, just from seeing everything that TikTok changes. It's now happening in Instagram. I mean, you can now get paid directly from a reel in Instagram. You've never been able to do that.
So explain that. You can get paid directly from a reel. So what do you mean by that?
So you see how you've got the creator fund on TikTok?
The creative.
So there's something called, the creator fund. So basically TikTok will send you an email and say, we love your content. We'd love to pay you X amount for each view or whatever you get. So creators now being paid to keep people on the TikTok platform. That is their goal. They want people to be on the platform for as long as they possibly can. Instagram have obviously noticed that now, because of TikTok, people are spending all of their time on TikTok and they're less likely to come and spend time on Instagram, which is how they make their money.
Yeah.
So obviously Instagram make money through ads, but realistically they make their money for time per view. So Instagram have basically said, well, TikTok are doing this really great. Let's introduce it to our creators. Let's give them a boost. And they've now come out with this huge sweeping statement and said, we will be paying our creators $1 billion over the next year. Obviously, this is in the US, not the UK, because we get everything last.
Yeah.
But so Instagram have basically decided to take on a TikTok type format.
So has that come through in the UK yet as a paid?
Not to get paid, no, but you
Bet you can't
can
wait
now
to.
add. I know it's so tough. You can now add brand partners and paid collaborations straight to your Instagram reel.
Yes, I've seen this
Um,
actually. So
yeah,
that's two people. So that's yourself and me
yeah,
actually collaborating on a reel.
collaborating on a reel, which I think is brilliant to be able to cross two kind of different platforms and two different
Mm.
niches. I mean, to come together, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah. So you looking at TikTok is just sitting on the fence and just watching when, because I mean, it will happen. It will become like Instagram's become, and the demographic will be larger, and then your 14-year-old will go, niece or nephew will go, I'm not on here if she's on here, and then they'll go and find another platform, and they'll go back to
Exactly.
Snapchat or something like that. And then the
Exactly.
autographic come in, and the videos, like just like we've said earlier, that it's become more value added videos opposed to taking a picture of your food.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long for that to happen, does
No,
it? I mean,
not
it
at
doesn't
all.
take long.
It's consumer behavior, isn't it? They see how people act and they see what people's needs are and wants are, and then they act kind of simultaneously. It's listen, Adam Missouri's a genius, so I rate everything that he does, but I do strongly believe, as you've just said, that TikTok is a hugely growing platform and it will continue to do so naturally.
Okay. So if someone's let's say we're going back to like creating some reels, but for a business pushing them forward, or someone is doing it for a client, how do you go? Let's start with the client first. How you take on a client, or someone comes to you, which I'm sure you're going to get more and more of these people coming to you. What makes you
Sure.
decide whether you're going to take on a client? And this sort of question sort of involves the businesses that are listening to this podcast, how they can think about their own product, depending on how you answer this. So what do you look at when you look at a product or a service or something and think, actually, we can do something with this? Can you do something with anything, or do you
I
have
can, and I think most social media managers would say that they could. However, I'm lucky enough to be in the position that I am to be able to obviously say yes or no to people. But to be honest, the thing that I look for most is, do I align with their brand morals? Do I believe in what they are selling, and would I buy it myself? And if any of those answers are no, the likelihood is I'm not going to work with you, because I don't think you can actually, of course, I can study the brand's tone of voice and I can study their aesthetic and I know what they're type of posting about. But if I'm not into it, how am I going to write selling captions if I don't believe in a product?
Yeah.
So I
And
truly believe sorry, go on.
No, that's right. And would you do it? Do you do it yourself for the client? So would we see you or your team? Are you making the reels?
Do you mean my face, or do you mean me actually filming it? So no. So for a client, I will not put my face in their reel. It's not my company. It's not my brand. I don't want my face on it.
We see that on TikTok with people I know who are doing it for TikTok. The content creators are usually the agencies.
I find it very interesting, and I think every agency has their own way of doing things. Just for me, I personally wouldn't want my face on something that I don't align with or isn't kind of within my morals and my ethics and stuff like that. But I do create loads and loads of reels for my clients. It's just not got my face in them.
Oh, okay. So,
or I shoot with them and I do it with their face in it.
So what are your typical clients then? Are they like jewelry companies, makeup? Like that could be completely stereotypical, but
completely stereotypical. I'm very offended. No, I'm joking. A lot of my clients at the moment are in the fitness and beauty industry. It's something that I've fallen into, but it's something that I equally really, really love and enjoy myself. I've had quite a few companies in kind of like the eco-living sustainability world, which for me is an absolute dream, because not because I'm trying to move over to being completely sustainable, but I think if you look at my profile, you can see my type of aesthetic, and it's very clean, it's very green.
I think it's great. That's your brand, isn't it? As soon as I saw it, I was like, well, you've chosen green as your brand, which is brilliant.
It's happened. Thank you. No, I've
been thinking about making myself the doctor. I'm sort of being nicknamed. No, he'll see your face thinking, what?
No, I'm loving it.
The consultancy that leads off this is called the Ads Clinic. So it's like, if you look at our podcast thumbnail, Liv's put me in a white coat with a stethoscope around my neck, and I'm now being known as the doctor. And I thought, actually, even though that's quite embarrassing, like when we do talk shows. We've got one next Tuesday. Is like, oh, do I wear the doctor's cloak, the coat and stuff like this? A
I
bit
think
silly.
so. No, I don't think that's silly. I think that's an incredible way for people to recognize you as a brand.
Yeah, that's what I've sort of thought. Apart from the coat that we did order,
was
like
crap.
from China. I mean, it's an absolute. I need to find someone who's a doctor who can actually get me like a proper
They
one.
can actually get you like a scrubs.
But-
I personally love things like that. I
But
think
it's
that's
it's
really
big. As
sweet.
soon as I saw your as soon as like Liv was like, oh, showed me your feed and account, I was like, first thing I thought was like, this is well structured.
Thank you.
And we try and keep on with mine. So can you have it broken up? Like with mine, it's sometimes because the reels, when you do a reel, you can make it post. Oh, here's a great question. You can make it post to your feed. Always, but you put a cover photo on. You put a cover on the top, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing that, and it starts looking scruffy.
Listen, you're going to have a lot of people say covers matter, covers don't matter. To me, my results have never changed from using covers to not using covers. I've never found a difference in my engagement or my reach. So I personally prefer having the aesthetic cohesive feed. But equally, to be quite honest, yes, it does matter if you are trying to attract a certain client. But if your client is not aesthetically focused, then it really doesn't matter what your feed looks like. But for someone like me, obviously, when clients are coming to me with the dream feed in mind, they're not going to hire me if I don't have a nice looking feed. So that's why I make such an effort into making it look good.
Okay. Intros. First 3 seconds. So really important on any social, TikTok, Facebook, everything, video. And we know how video is just taken over the world. The first 3 seconds is really important, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would you say? Well, a bit of advice on what we would use for the first 3 seconds, because some of the stuff I've been sort of researching is where I was saying to Liv before this, TJ Maxx, which is TK Maxx in America, TJ Maxx.
How dare they?
Yeah, they done a TikTok one, which when she was in the car, like gasping with a hand over her mouth, and then the camera went down to her holding she'd obviously then shown, she's been shopping at TJ Maxx.
Right.
And then the next transition was her putting on her bathing suit, which then popped up with a price, and then grabbed her beach bag, which popped up with a price. And it was really cleverly done. And then the last page was TJ Maxx, shop now.
I mean, it's basically clickbait, isn't it?
That's the thing. So the person I was watching, her name was the Social Savannah. I don't know if you've ever.
Right. Yes. I've seen her.
So she was very big in Facebook ads. She's a media buyer. That's what that's how I know her. And she was just like, it's clickbait, but it's not clickbait. But as long as your video sort of stacks up, you're just getting someone to engage with it a little bit longer, so they don't pass it on the feed.
I think it's genius. I don't get me wrong. I hate nothing more than someone that will say incredible something blah blah blah, and then you get to the end of the video and say watch for part 2. It annoys me.
Yeah.
But a hook is very different to just outright clickbait. And I think this is where people can get really creative. For me, I've found that so the way that I structure my reels is hook, value, CTA. Every time it wins every time. You hook your audience in the first 3 seconds, you keep them watching with some information that either educates or entertains them, and then you give them a CTA and say, hey, did you like this? Share it with a friend. It's super simple and it's super easy to follow. So as a rule of thumb, whoever's listening, if you're trying to create a reel, structure it in 3 ways and it's super easy to do. But the way that I've now started doing them is either by using a transition kind of in the first 3 seconds, which then gets people's eyes moving and it's like, okay, I want to keep watching. Or it's using a big sweeping statement like, you are making this mistake, and then explaining it. So
So I could do that for mine, couldn't I? Stop doing 100%. This with your ads.
Stop doing this. Perfect. Or you need to do this.
I can't start everyone with that, can I?
No, but you figure out new ways to ask the same questions.
Yeah,
you do it in a positive or a negative, or do you see what I mean? I'm
going to build one up.
It's easy.
I know.
Honestly, you're basically just having a free consultation session right now.
I know. How much do our listeners? Can our listeners get? Let's just do a little bit of a hook. We've got another 10-15 minutes left. A little bit of a hook. It's not a hook. What am I talking about?
Plug. You mean?
Plug.
A plug.
Can they get a consultancy from you? Can they get something from you?
Yeah, so I do offer one-to-one hour sessions. I have actually stopped doing them quite recently. Not stopped doing them, but I haven't been advertising that I do them at the moment, just because I am so busy. But I do offer one-to-one sessions, and I find that they are the best way to learn. I truly believe that a one-to-one session is all day, every day better than a course.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, back to where we were. How long should a reel be? Because we get the different timings, don't we, on a reel?
Yeah.
Do you have a go-to?
Yeah, I try and stick between kind of 7 and 12 seconds. I think that's really where mine fly. I think I've never really done like I do a lot of like longer tutorials. Like you saw the splice one with the cloning. They do well, people like them, but the things that get the views are the short snappy, snappy reels.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So if someone wanted to come on and do a reel with their business, how many times a week do they need to do it?
I think if you're just starting out with reels, I would really try and push for as many times a week as you can.
I didn't want you to answer that.
I'm sorry. I just had to break it to you. But do what I've said. Batch create your content. I promise you, if you just scroll through Instagram for 30 minutes, you're following people that are similar accounts to yours. So you're seeing that kind of content that you're kind of into or you're interested in. If you scroll on Instagram for 30 minutes, I guarantee you by the time that 30 minutes is done, you are going to have at least 5 or 6 ideas that you can think of, at least 5 or 6. And it's whether that is seeing a trend of a makeup artist doing something, but then you think, actually, that could be really transferable to my niche. Perfect, write it down. The most important advice that I want you and whoever's listening to take from this is just always have an ongoing, even if it's a notes on your iPhone, an ongoing list of content ideas that even if you're out, you're shopping, you're doing this, you're going for coffee, you think of an idea, write it down, because it's so handy to refer back to.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to do your Monday morning 3 hours unless you had that list to go to.
Never. It would take me 3 days if I didn't have everything planned.
And will you start seeing the reels, because you're stopping and watching certain reels, the algorithm will start understanding what you're liking and show you more of that sort of stuff?
Massively, yeah, massively.
Okay,
so I mean, my whole feed is now other social media managers. It's hilarious. But I do actually want to make a point that you do want to avoid getting into that stage where you're surrounded by so much information of similar people to you that your brain then starts, unfortunately, you naturally start thinking, hang on, did I come up with that idea or did I see it from someone else and I'm now copying it? Because that is when it gets really tricky. I've had people copy a whole series of mine, and it's like their excuse is, well, everyone's posting it. And it's like, there's a line. So always take inspiration, but just please never, ever try and copy someone else's content.
So they've actually like copied what you've done.
Word for word, how I structure them, how I brand them, how I do my different fonts. It's crazy.
And copyright. If someone did that on a website or a brand name, you'd get them for copyright, wouldn't you, in a way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they'll be looking because someone else can see how many views you got, can they?
Yes.
See how it works. So someone will be studying what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then every time you do one, they go back and after a couple of days, see how many views you got and go, okay, I'll copy that.
Exactly. Which, listen, is fine. I find it flattering. So it is fine. But I know that when I first started out, I was finding it really hard to kind of, distinguish what was actually my idea and what wasn't. So
yeah, absolutely.
You do get used to it.
Okay. I think the last thing I want to know, hashtags. Are hashtags still relevant?
So, right. Yes is the simple answer. No is the slightly longer answer. Hashtags are not used the way that hashtags used to be used. It used to be that the more hashtags you use, the more chances you have of getting seen, which unfortunately, and confirmed by Adam Azuri and whoever else at Instagram that wants to say it, it has been confirmed that a smaller amount of hashtags is better, because using those 15 or 30 hashtags, it now confuses the algorithm. So your post is going to get lost. So now what basically, and I trial and error everything before I post about it, because you can get in serious trouble from people being like, this isn't right, this isn't right. So I now make sure that I use myself as a case study before I do anything. And I can now happily tell you this, because I've been doing it for the last 2 months. I've used no more than 5 and normally about 3 hashtags on every single one of my reels. And my impressions from hashtags have gone up by about 200% since using 3.
Okay,
it's crazy.
I've been just
cool.
I copy and paste from my little notes and just put them all in.
Of course you do, because you've been told that is what you should have done.
Yeah. So isn't it? So basically, the world that from a Facebook, from a paid advertising platform point of view, we're always up to date on all the little changes. Exactly. It's exactly the same on the organic side. It doesn't just get left. No, nothing.
So basically, you just want to be using 3 to 5 really, really post-specific hashtags. So if your post is about Instagram engagement, you're going to hashtag Instagram engagement. It's very much so you're hashtagging, basically using your hashtags as a description for that post.
Right. Not just saying, okay, I do Facebook advertising, so I just post Facebook advertising every time.
Exactly that. So you want to avoid, sorry, I'm just going to use my industry as a thing, because I know it. I used to post things like Social Media Manager UK, Social Media Manager London. It's now completely pointless if I post that. So I now will only post things that are specified and specific to that post that I'm posting.
That's really interesting.
And it works. Give that a go. Definitely try it. But like everything with Instagram, you do have to kind of spend a couple of weeks trialing and erroring everything. So it's hard, because what works for me might not necessarily work for you.
Yeah, and I think especially for our listeners thinking, because a lot of them coming from a paid point of view, but because they are small business owners, they will be doing the organic side as well. I think the confusion with everything, if I put myself into the position of that person, is the time it takes to do things. They're running a business as well. That's why I think, when I heard that the CEO was like, sorry, I forget his name, but when he came through and he was like 1 or 2 a week, I was like, maybe that's more realistic because of all the other things you've got to do. But then going on what you said earlier, you also run a business and do your own. So it's just.
But remember, it is my speciality. So I can't really, it was wrong of me to I apologize. I shouldn't have actually said that anyone can do it, because that's not
But it's learning how to do it. And it's also choosing a channel, isn't it? So I think a lot of people go, I want to be on YouTube. I need to be on a podcast. I need to do this. It's finding the channel that works best, isn't it? Like podcasts work really well for us. I've always struggled to grow YouTube, because then you've got to get someone to design a thumbnail for your YouTube video. You've got to get it edited. Whereas a podcast, it's a lot quicker to edit, get out there. So it's finding the right channel for you. But absolutely. Sure. I can't believe those hashtags. So it's even more thought. The amount of thought you have to put into every single post.
Everything. It's crazy. It's a very long checklist that you have to go by.
Absolutely. Well, it's been amazing having you. It's been really, really good. I've really enjoyed this.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me on.
My brain's like going, so I'm going to be, transfer. I'll be rewatching this podcast, editing it. I'm like, oh my God, right, what are those things we need to do? So no, so
you have essentially given us and our listeners an audit. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like when you, obviously this is your first podcast, if you go on to other podcasts, by giving so much value, it's because people said I have a lot of people say to me, it's like, you're telling people how to do something on your podcast. Why would they even come to you? But I always say that you should understand your what you're doing before you go to see someone about it. So before someone comes to me and says, Facebook, I want you to do a Facebook. Have you done it? I want them to have done it before. I want them to actually know whether I'm saying the right things and giving the right advice.
I'm totally with you.
You completely agree, yeah?
Completely agree. I think that just from, I know that you obviously do your consultancy as well, from seeing the difference in clients that have come to me from, let's say, scrolling through my reels, taking notes, really trying to learn something, even when they come to me after the entire hour session, it's still, okay, I want 3 more sessions, because just because you're learning something from what I'm telling you about, that is still so generalized. You need to make that then specific to you. So I truly believe that people like me and you, that we are giving away all of this information for free, is only going to benefit us as well, because it then gives people the chance to have actually done the hard bit of learning the scary bits. And then by the time they come to you, it's like, okay, now let's move through a strategy for you, as opposed to teaching you how.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, Emily, it's been absolutely amazing you having you on here. Now, I know you're not taking on these consultancy calls yourself. You're having a break. I can only take on a certain amount because you've got everything else to do. So I completely know what you mean. Is there anything you want to say to our audience, of like a little bit of a plug or anything towards your business or anything? Or is this just like too busy?
I mean, all I'm going to say
stuff?
is that we have now officially ended contracts with all of our management contracts, because I have just hired 3 incredible girls to my team. So we are basically rejigging all of our social media management. So if you do want social media management, now is the time to get in touch. We're taking on about 10 clients, and after it gets to that point, that will be it for the year. So that's the only plug I want to give. If you do want a consultation session, please do send me a DM. I would be more than happy to try and book that in for you in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Otherwise, your handle is at
the social manager _, which annoys me every time.
Yeah, I do. Are you looking back on that and just like, oh, why did I put the underscore in?
No, it's not my choice.
Oh,
There's
really?
a bot account that is called the social manager that has no followers, isn't following anyone. I've reported the account, I've emailed Instagram, no one's got back to me. So that's where we stand.
Oh, how annoying is that? It's like the perfect handle is just sitting there and you can't have it.
It's literally
just out of reach.
But the thing is, but searching for people now is easy on Instagram, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
You just start typing someone in and it pops up.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, though, because my name is my name, I actually often don't come up in search, because the people that come in search when you type in social manager is just the people that have social media manager in their bio, because it's all done obviously by SEO. So it's that's a whole other topic, but that's for another time.
But no, excellent. Really enjoyed it. Thanks. You've been really valuable. Told us loads of your little secrets. And everyone now, I want to you all need to go and follow Emily. It's brilliant. And get in touch and just keep on basically trying to make your businesses fly forwards. Everything changes so quick in this space. It's just this digital space is just like
crazy.
It's a Minecraft, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But brilliant. Thanks for your time. And
thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure, for sure.
Take care.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.